ours at Tulane, where you sort of go from one Zoom meeting to another. Sometimes you have a phone call just for a little change, right? But so it might have been an unusual thing to be on Zoom like a month and a half ago. Now, now everyone does it. But we really appreciate you being here for this session, and we think it's going to be helpful and informative for you as you think about going back to school. And again, we really appreciate your time. So if you can, we have you on mute when you join the call. You can take yourself off mute. You can communicate with us in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. And Maddie Duncan just posted a first message in there. And if you can, you may not be able to, but if you can put your video on so we can see you, that would be great too, if you're somewhere where you can do that. You know, part of the reason that we do these is so we can start to get to know people as they're in the application process. And so putting names and faces together is always helpful. So Sheila and I, again, I'm Suri Deitch, Dean of the School of Professional Advancement, and Sheila Gold and I will be talking during most of this webinar. At any point, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat box. We'll take a minute at the end to see if there are any additional questions that people hadn't thought of yet or that we hadn't gotten to. And if we can, we'll respond to your questions as we're going through the presentation. I'll just say something before we jump into the slide deck, which is that, you know, so SOPA is a school that primarily serves working adults and students of all ages who are interested in applied programs that are relevant to the workplace. And the workplace is kind of a tough place right now. And we know that, you know, we have students and friends and family members who've lost jobs. Obviously, many people are ill. People are confined, right, at the very least. And it's, so it's a challenging time for everyone. And I'd just like to say in that context that, you know, Tulane is here, SOPA is here. Even though difficult economic times can be a challenging time to go back to school financially, it can also be a really good time to go back to school, or to go to school in the first place, because you're investing in yourself and in your future. And in this case, right, this is a webinar focused on undergraduate programs. Having that credential, having the bachelor's degree, or earning the post-baccalaureate certificate, or the professional certificate, as we call them, is has the potential to be, sorry, there's lightning in the background, has the potential to be the thing that really makes the difference for you in being competitive in a very difficult job market. And so I congratulate you for being willing to have this conversation with us about going back to school. And you know, the data are really clear that people with bachelor's degrees do much better in economic recessions and downturns than people who don't have bachelor's degrees. That's been true for a long time, but it's even more so the case today. And it's especially the case when you earn a degree from an institution like Tulane. And so again, I'd say good for you for looking into this possibility. And we want to work with you through this process. So with that, you can go to the next slide, Maddie. A little bit of history about Tulane and SOPA. Tulane is an unusual private research university for having in its very DNA, since the school's beginning, is applied learning and relevance to the real world, right? Tulane was founded as the Medical College of Louisiana, and it started with a medical school, then a law school, and then actually the third school that became part of Tulane was a predecessor to SOPA. And so Tulane has a long history of educating working adults and offering academic programs that are relevant to the workplace. And that actually makes it an unusual university of its type, to have that long-term commitment. And we're proud of that long-term commitment, and we're proud to be part of how its iteration now, how it functions in today's society. So this is what we have to say about SOPA, and this is really the structure of the webinar. We're going to talk about these different areas. Top of mind at the moment is online education, because there's a lot of it going on, and including many people who hadn't expected themselves to be in online education who are doing it. And so we talk about SOPA and our tremendous depth and experience in this area, and our expertise, and the fact that we have classes in the classroom in New Orleans, and also a lot of online options. We will talk about our programs and faculty who distinguish us by offering a fabulous mix of content that's relevant to the real world, and knowledge that one needs to be an educated person in this society. We'll talk about student support, our student services, and our career advisement, and of course about affordability. And then, finally, all of this is within the context of Tulane. And so all the benefits that one gets from being a student at Tulane and being an alumnus of Tulane are part of what you get as a student at SOPA. Next slide. So online learning may or may not be familiar to you. Just as with a classroom class, right? You can teach really well in a classroom and you can teach poorly. The same is true online. And so I just want to say a little bit about how we teach online at SOPA. So we have a combination of what's called synchronous and asynchronous learning. So synchronous means everyone is together online. If you happen to be a high school student finishing up your last semester of high school, you're probably meeting on Zoom and doing synchronous sessions. And we combine that with a lot of different interactive materials and ways of engaging with the course content that are done asynchronously, which means that you do them on your own. It could be video and film. It could be in some cases it's simulations. There are always discussion boards where students post and interact and talk with one another on a weekly basis. And then, as I said, we use a mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning, and the synchronous sessions typically take place once a month. And that's an opportunity to have a guest speaker in class, to work on a group project, to split up into small groups of students, those kinds of things. All right, this slide is, and hold on a second, I'm just gonna move. That's one of the things we do when we're working at home on Zoom. Move to somewhere with better acoustics. So the scale is something that we like to talk about at SOPA, right? This is the real world, right? We're all talking about how we see one another in our homes now. So we like to talk about our scale and depth of experience and expertise in online, because the fact that all institutions are now teaching online doesn't mean that they actually know how to do it well. And so we're really proud of the numbers of students who take many, many courses online, even when they're in a program that primarily meets in the classroom. The fact that we have all of these different programs, the fact that we have about 200 faculty trained in teaching online. And on our website, we have a whole page of awards that have been given to our online programs, both undergraduate and graduate. So if you come to SOPA as a student, we know online really well. We know how to do it really well. Okay. These are the programs that we offer at the undergraduate level. So they're bachelor's degrees, Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science, which are 120 credit degrees. Most of the students who come to SOPA have already earned some credits somewhere else, but not all. And we do a lot of what's called degree completion, which means for someone who's earned, you know, any amount of credits at another institution or at more than one institution, that we work with you to make a plan for you to finish up your bachelor's degree and earn it at Tulane. We also offer post-baccalaureate certificates, which means programs where you need to have earned your bachelor's already, whether at Tulane or somewhere else. And then at the bottom of the slide, a small number of what we call professional certificates that you can enroll in without having already earned your bachelor's degree. And one of the great things about the professional certificates is that in many cases, you can apply the coursework from the certificate program toward your bachelor's degree, and we can work with you on doing that. All right, next slide. We're really proud of our faculty. So I said we have over 200 faculty, or it says on the slide, 190 faculty trained to teach online. It's actually more at this point, right? It keeps going up. These are just 4 of our faculty, and we pulled them out of a long list of really accomplished people to give you a sense of the depth and the diversity of the faculty. We have about 25 full-time faculty who, many of whom came from industry. Actually, Tyra Mitchell and Ralph Russo on the right of the screen are 2 of those people. They are full-time, dedicated to students, overseeing curriculum, teaching, working with students directly in advisement and other ways at SOPA. And then we have about 250 faculty who are adjunct faculty who mostly work in industry, and they teach for us because they love teaching adult students and they love to have an opportunity to share their knowledge. And so Patricia Betancourt from our General Legal Studies program and Josh Jertberg from our digital design are 2 of those folks. And one of the many great things about having a faculty like this is that you get the experience of being taught by them, you gain access to their professional experiences and their real world knowledge, but you also have access to their professional networks, and that's something that can pay off over the course of your career because you're developing those professional networks, you're working with faculty to make connections while you're in school and after you're in school. So we have Ralph Russo has a long list of former students who he's helped get jobs in the information technology industry, and that's pretty common. All right, so student support and success. We have a student services unit of advisors and a career advisor as well who work with you directly. So every single student at the school is assigned an academic advisor who works closely with you. We also, obviously, as I said, we have faculty who work with you on career development and help you with connections. We have a career advisor who specializes in working with adult students and figuring out how to translate your work experience and your experience in training and education into next steps in your career. And then, like I said earlier, you know, all the benefits that one gets from being a permanent part of the Tulane University community, which includes being a Tulane alumnus. So we always like to highlight what's called credits for prior learning when we do these presentations, because we have a number of different ways in which you can translate your experience on the job as a volunteer, maybe in some kind of non-credit training environment, into course credit toward your bachelor's degree. The main way we do it is through something called portfolio development, where we actually work with you to match your experience to specific coursework, and then help you to develop a portfolio that documents your experience. The portfolio is then evaluated by a faculty member in that area, and you actually get a grade. And you can get up to 24 credits toward your bachelor's degree in this way. But we also award credit for other kinds of experiences, including various exams that are common in the military, for example, CLEP, DSST. These are exams that some of you may be familiar with. And we also evaluate transcripts from military training and work with you to figure out how to turn those into credit toward your bachelor's degree. All right, I'll hand things over to my colleague Sheila to talk for a few minutes.
Hi, everyone. Let me, before I get started, once again, just say thank you so much for joining us. There's several reasons I love these webinars. A, because I love talking about Tulane and SOPA and what we have to offer you all, and so I think that's exciting. I also like to just say thank you. We know that you all have lots going on right now. This is an incredibly unusual time, and the fact that you're choosing to spend some of your time with us, we're very appreciative and we take very seriously. So let me say thank you. And then the third thing is that we love getting to know our potential students. And so the admissions process and the webinars are one ways that we start to do that. It's kind of the beginning of our relationship. So it's nice for me to be able to see your faces and be able to talk to you. And I certainly hope that as we move through this webinar and talk a little bit more about the admission process, that at the end, you'll feel comfortable asking some questions. And if not, feel free afterwards to reach out. It's our pleasure to connect and talk about ways we can help you become a student. So one of the strongest things that we can tell you about SOPA, and one of the things that we have to offer, is our affordability. So our tuition for per credit hour at the undergraduate rate for the summer is $474, and that's per credit hour. It does incrementally go up in the fall. It'll be $524 per credit hour. The one thing that I like to tell prospective students is, as you're looking at schools, and we certainly respect the fact that prospective students are savvy consumers, please notice that we have very low fees. So many schools will talk about their tuition rate or their tuition per credit hour, and then there's also additional fees that are added, and those fees can be somewhat substantial. We are very intentional about the fact that we do not charge a lot of additional fees. So our per credit rate, hour rate, is the vast majority of what you will be charged for your tuition. We also know, especially during these unusual and changing times, that students are looking at financial aid options. Way to help finance your tuition is important. We have a financial aid office at Tulane, and we encourage all of our students, as they're filling out the actual application to SOPA, at the same time to start their FAFSA form, which is the federal form for financial aid. That does take several weeks to get processed, and so we encourage students to do both of those things at the same time. We're also here to answer questions as much as we can at the school level and point you towards the right people in our financial aid office to answer any questions that you may have. One of the things that we're also very proud of at SOPA is that we have several discounts that we offer to students, and that we are a military-friendly school. So we do offer federal grants and loans, but we also are part of the Yellow Ribbon program, and we do offer 20% discounts for active military and veterans. Also for K through 12 instructors, and for those of you who are in the New Orleans area and are parish employees, that discount applies to you as well. And the screen prior to this one, or maybe two prior to this one, was Suri spoke about our credits for prior learning. For those of you which that may apply, that would offer a discount of sorts to you as well. So if you get up to 24 credit hours applied towards your degree, that's 24 credit hours that you do not have to pay for in tuition. So there are various ways that we try to make our degrees incredibly affordable to you all. So our application process, we are very intentional and purposeful about making it user-friendly. There are no tricks. There are no ways that we're trying to trip you up or test you in the application process. And with that said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We do require a $40 application fee, but let me say that as our thank you to you for spending some of your time with us today, we do waive that fee for having attended this webinar today. You should have that fee automatically waived as you go through the application process. When you submit your application, the next step is to pay your fee. It should automatically get waived. If you get to that point in the application process and you see that it isn't waived, it's very simple. You send an email to me. You'll see my email address at the end of this webinar. It is also on our website. You simply send an email and say, I attended the webinar, my fee isn't waived, and it's a 2-minute process on the back end. So do not feel shy or embarrassed about sending that email, but it should happen automatically. We also will need a valid government ID uploaded with your application. Most of the time, all you will have to do is take a picture with your phone of a valid driver's license or passport and upload that image to the application. That should not be hard, but we're happy to talk you through that. And then we'll also need transcripts from schools which you've attended. So if you have completed a high school degree or have received your GED, you can send us proof of those, of you completing your GED or your high school transcript. And if you have attended any college for credit, we would need a copy of those transcripts as well. You can send those either through U.S. Postal Service or electronically if your registrar's office offer that service. And once again, that information is also on our website with our mailing address. We have 3 application deadlines, and that's because we have 3 starts each semester. So for those of you who are thinking about starting this summer, our application is still open. Our deadline is May 15th, so you still have some time to submit your application. For those of you who are looking for the more traditional fall starts, August 15th is our application deadline. And for those of you who are planners and looking to learn about our programs, but not planning to attend till the spring, which is our January start, January 1st is our deadline.
Great. So let us know, well, actually, I'm curious to know if people wouldn't mind putting into the chat box or speaking out loud. Let us know where are you participating from? Right? We know many of you are in New Orleans, but some are not. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if you have any questions for us at this point. We'd also love to know what programs you're interested in. So we see a bunch of people in different neighborhoods in New Orleans, some of which feel really far away at the moment, right? Because none of us are going far from home at this point. That's great to see Caroline, who's in New York and looking at the paralegal postbac, which is a great program, and American Bar Association approved, which is a pretty special thing. Great to see folks who are in different parts of Louisiana. And again, let us know if you have any questions for us. Those can be today. And then, like Sheila said, her email address is right here. And then all of our social media, which we have many different social media handles because we're really active on Facebook and other platforms. Ingrid has a question about taking the online courses using the Chrome browser. Yes, every browser is compatible with the online course system that we use at Tulane, which is, it's called Canvas, and it's the most widely used of these platforms right now. It's really great. All right, Shanti's in Toronto, but lives in Tarrytown. We have students, undergraduate students, all over the country, literally. The ones who are not in the New Orleans region are, they're either in a post-baccalaureate program, like the one Caroline mentioned, the paralegal one, or digital design, or a program like that, or they're finishing a bachelor's degree at Tulane through online coursework. Sometimes those students started at Tulane and had to leave for some reason, and then a lot of times started at other institutions and ended up coming to Tulane, which we're really happy about. So we see a question about submitting another application. We'll follow up with you about that one because we want to look at your current record. Any other questions for us? Well, we really appreciate your time today. We look forward to having you as a Tulane student soon and seeing your application for admission. We'll follow up with you, Shanti, about the credits for prior learning. And we look forward to being in touch with all of you. Please reach out, and as we always say these days, please stay safe and well, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.